Me and Derek both released our mock drafts, but we'll only crap on me here for a second. And Nathan, I promise I'm getting to your comments here in a second. Here is what we're looking at for me now. I already know people are not about Desmond Ridder with the 20th pick in the draft. I understand it. I don't want the Steelers to draft a quarterback. I do not think it is a good move, but we've hit that point in the offseason where it is no longer about what we want or believe the Steelers need. It is about what the Pittsburgh Steelers are saying is going to happen, and it is pretty cut and clear that Desmond Ridder and a quarterback is on their roster or is on their first round ballot. That being said, Malik Willis will be gone. I believe in pick 2. I think Detroit's going to take him. I think even if Aiden Hutchinson doesn't go number 1, I think Detroit takes Malik Willis because he's a quarterback, and people love their quarterbacks. I also think Kenny Pickett goes at 6 to Carolina, and I think then there's a gap. So the rest of the first round outside of 3 teams get really good draft picks. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Carolina Panthers, and the Detroit Lions get quarterbacks that nobody likes. I do want to address Nathan's comment here about a wide receiver in the 2nd and the 4th. Look, I agree, and we've, again, have to jump on the bandwagon here that it is no longer about what we believe the Steelers need and more about what the Steelers are telling us. The Steelers are not adding any wide receiver help. They're just letting it go. And I believe that right now, their best bet is to go get a guy in the 3rd round or the 4th round or the 2nd round, and then grab another guy before the 7th round. That gives them 2 options to fill it in. Hopefully Anthony Miller does anything at all to be a 5th wide receiver, maybe a 4th, depending on how Danny Gray turns out. And with the speed, I get that as well. But the Steelers are revolving back to a speed wide receiver room. This is Matt Canada's offense now. This is not Ben Roethlisberger's offense. They don't care about the Chase Claypools. They want the shifty dudes, Sky Moore and Danny Gray. Very, very, very shifty moves. Donnie, I'll let you crap on me for a second here. What are your thoughts on my mock draft?
Yeah, I would not be a fan of 2 receivers in the first 4 rounds. We can cut the fat offers argument and go just straight to the meat of it. Desmond Ridder at 20. I think we all kind of feel that guys like Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett are going to be gone by the time the Steelers are on the board. Matt Corral is definitely an option there. I do feel like Desmond Ridder is very overlooked in this class for whatever reason. I get the Cincinnati thing, and I definitely get the whole level of play and competition, and whatever it might be. I get his college football playoff game didn't exactly go well and do wonders for his draft stock like everybody would have hoped to. I still feel like he put up solid numbers. I still feel like there's a lot of upside there. Maybe not upside like Malik Willis in terms of potential ceiling. But if you're taking a quarterback in the first round, like, you have to swing for the fences. Like, taking a safe guy, and this is the argument against Kenny Pickett, taking a safe guy in the first round is not going to do your organization any wonders. You wanted Patrick Mahomes. You want a Josh Allen. You want a Justin Herbert. You want guys like that.
Yep.
And so, do you think Desmond Ridder can be one of those guys?
I don't. I truly don't. I will say this, though. I think that he has upside to the point where you could feel like maybe he could turn into something. I don't know what that something is. Like, for a while, I wanted to compare him to Jalen Hurts. For a while, I wanted to compare him to, I don't know, a couple of other quarterbacks, but I just don't think that Desmond Ridder is Desmond Ridder. Like, he's a dude that has more leadership than anybody in this draft. He is the leader. And there's no questions there. But that's cool. There's a million quarterbacks out there who could lead. Unfortunately, the Pittsburgh Steelers don't have any of them. I think that he's working with Jordan Palmer, which makes me feel very good about him improving his mechanics, but that's what it is. It comes down to his mechanics. His feet work are atrocious. He leans off his back foot way too much when he's throwing the football. I just think that there's a lot of in him. That being said, his athleticism might be able to pick up the slack that his throwing ability can't reach. And at the same time, I don't know what Matt Canada's offense is going to look like, because if it's a bunch of shiftiness and it's a bunch of we're getting the ball in the hands of our playmakers, maybe Desmond Ridder could work long term. But if we're just cut and dry, right on a piece of paper, this is what we're saying. If you're asking me if Desmond Ridder could win you a Super Bowl, the answer is no.
I feel a little more comfortable taking Ridder with an added quarterback like Trubisky on the roster now, just because I know there should not be any pressure on maybe a guy like Ridder to go in there and win the Steelers games immediately when he probably won't be ready to do that. I do wonder, though, if the Steelers feel like they might not be in a position to go get a quarterback next year, like a top quarterback prospect next year, and they feel like they need to walk away in this draft with the quarterback that they could potentially build for in the future.
Yeah,
I will say, though, before you go, I do like Ridder over guys like Corral, Strong, pretty much, and any of the guys other than like Malik Willis, and then I do like Kenny Pickett a little bit more than him. Everybody else, though, Ridder's probably my quarterback 3 in his class.
I believe Ridder's my quarterback 3. I think Sam Howell might be my quarterback 4, and I don't feel real good about Howell. But I also think that people are just immediately comparing Howell to Baker Mayfield and then moving on with the conversation without being like, well, actually, like, I get he looks like him, but he's had some moments that look very good as a quarterback, and the Steelers do like him. I think he's a possibility there. I do want to bring up this comment real quick, because the combine is very true, and that will win you or lose you the draft for a player like Desmond Ridder. That being said, like, quarterback hype alone is going to win you the draft. If you're a guy, Desmond Ridder should not be drafted in the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. Matt Corral probably shouldn't be drafted in the first 4 rounds. And if we're being honest, if this was last year or next year, Kenny Pickett is not a first-round pick. Malik Willis might sneak his way in there as like a late rounder that people are like, oh, maybe he's the next Lamar Jackson. But the rest of these guys, I mean, they're just using the offseason hype to climb up the draft boards. Personal opinion is none of them have the attributes to be a starting quarterback for at least a year, maybe 2, and teams are going to have to be pushed into situations. Unfortunately, that team is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're going to take the biggest blow here because of it. I think that they're going to sit there. They're going to take a quarterback, either Desmond Ridder, Sam Howell, Matt Corral, whoever, and they're going to realize very quickly that he's not developing as quickly as he needs to be. And the fans are going to be pretty much over Mitchell Trubisky the second a guy walks into the stadium. Like, it's not going to take much time before people are saying, okay, Mitch is cool. Let's get this next quarterback moving, start to develop him, because not everybody realizes, like, you're not going to develop well on the football field because that's just too much pressure. I just think the Steelers are backing themselves into a very, very bad corner here.
So I do want to bring up Nathan's comment there in the chat about the combine just verifies tape. I feel like a lot of people look at the combine and look at the numbers and kind of really hold that to be like biblical truth. I think the most important part of the combine is not even like the on-field performances. And while that can help or not help your draft stock, obviously, I think the most important part is like meeting with these kids face to face, getting to interview them. And most importantly, for a lot of guys, Carson Strong, the medicals. Because every year there's guys with like question marks about their overall health, and then like they finally get a chance to see with their own eyes and their own team doctors. They get to evaluate these kids and not just take a school's word for it. Now, did Desmond Ridder impress at the combine enough to make himself a first-round pick? Probably not. But I think, and this goes back to a comment that Mike Tomlin had previously made, the Steelers have a organizational business structure that they stick to, and they do not keep up with the Joneses. They do not. They do not care what the outside world thinks. They're going to do what their game plan suggests that they do. I
Yep.
think if they want to take a quarterback and they want to develop a guy like Ritter, it does kind of make sense for him to go in the first round because you do get that
Oh,
fifth year
yeah.
option to whether, if you don't think he's anything in 3 years, decline it. If you think there might be something there, take that fifth year option. And then, hopefully by year 4, year 5, you have a better understanding of where you're going to be at. But the only problem is that I don't think the Steelers Super Bowl window is that big. I really don't. And so are you going to waste draft capital and everybody else's time, guys like Minka, guys like TJ on this team? Are you going to waste their time by taking a rookie quarterback who is not going to push you to a Lombardi trophy in that time frame?
So I think yes, because even if he doesn't push you to a Lombardi trophy during that time, they have enough faith in Mitchell Trubisky to be the guy that doesn't lose them a Super Bowl, which I feel pretty good about Mitchell Trubisky not losing a Super Bowl. Like if the Steelers have a dominant team around Mitchell Trubisky, I think Mitchell Trubisky could run the football well enough and game manage whatever offense he needs to game manage enough to win some football games. Enough football games to keep you in that Super Bowl loop. That being said, I also don't think that I get your argument that like you want to fill those other needs, but just in the argument of the Steelers, I do believe that they have a team that's like almost ready to push for a Super Bowl. Like they need a lot to click. They need their offensive line to click so bad. And we don't know if their offensive line is going to be good or not. They obviously added some pieces and we feel good about those pieces, but I have no idea if the offensive line is going to be good. At the same time, the defense definitely improved. Like immediately got better. Joe Hayden was obviously on his last leg that last season in Pittsburgh. I like Levi Wallace. They still need a strong safety, but I think that you could get Terrell Edmunds or match Terrell Edmunds before the season. Defensive line, same questions as last year. I don't know what you do about that. I guess if we're going to digest everything here. And linebackers obviously got better. I think it just comes down to like they have to somewhat feel that in the next 5 years, Desmond Ridder could win them the Super Bowl. And I don't know if he could do that. Like I believe Mitchell Trubisky could stay at a point where he doesn't lose you a Super Bowl. I don't know if Desmond Ridder could get to that point where he just could be the quarterback, like just be here, just be Jimmy Garoppolo and don't lose us the game. I don't know if he could get there. I really, really don't.
I think at the end of the day, and we've talked about this before, and you just brought up a really good point. The Steelers feel like they are just a couple pieces away from being a very good football team that could potentially make a playoff push. If you were to draft Ridder in the first or second round, wherever it may be, and you get him that year experience and you feel really good about where he's at, and by the way, there's a very easy out in Mitchell Trubisky's contract after this first year, the first 2 years that you signed for. There's a very easy out. So if they take somebody and they like him, Trubisky can be gone like that. Mason's on a 1-year deal, correct?
Mason's on a 1-year deal. 1 year, it's like $1 million.
So do you build the defense up and do you hope that offensive line clicks and then you give Ridder a year? And then in 2023, you're like, all right, let's roll the dice, see how it works out.
Oh, that's exactly what you're going to do. If you're the Pittsburgh Steelers, unless Mitchell Trubisky becomes a starting quarterback again, like a true-blooded, killing it starting quarterback, he's gone after this season. To Doc's question here, I do not think that Ridder falls to the second round. I also don't believe Matt Corral or Sam Howell fall to the 52nd pick.
Yeah, that is the world's greatest question right now, at least in the world of the Steelers. My problem is if you're an organization who wants to go get a quarterback, you don't wait for him. You do not test the waters. You do not let something like that happen. Because, like, okay, let's say Detroit doesn't take a quarterback at number 2. They go like Aiden Hutchinson or like whatever offensive tackle they feel fit. If they see Ridder start to fall around that like 23, 24 range, I'm picking up the phone and I'm making a deal to go get Ridder at the end of the first round. I'm moving up with my second round pick, whatever draft capital I have.
Yeah, any of them. I mean, if you're the Pittsburgh Steelers and your quarterback, and Nathan has a good comment in here about how, we don't know if it's going to be Ridder or if their top guys Corral or Howell. I'm just assuming Ridder because that's what I've heard. That's the buzz I've been circulating around. If it's Howell, if it's Corral, if it's Ridder, if it's Carson Strong, it doesn't matter, which it's not Carson Strong, but just in case. You take him at 20. It does not matter how high or low you have him on the board. You take that person, that quarterback at 20. If that's your go-to, it's just like the Terrell Edmonds thing. The Steelers wanted a safety. Mike Tomlin will tell you straight up in 2017, we wanted a safety. We were getting a safety. This year, we want a quarterback. We're going to take a quarterback. They haven't said that out loud yet, but after the draft, that's all they're going to be talking about. We wanted a quarterback. We were taking a quarterback. They needed a running back. They were taking a running back. That's what it was. They have their pick. They have their position. They're going to draft whoever's left on the board that they believe is number one out of their quarterback rankings. Let me ask you this, though, before we move on. What is your quarterback rankings? I asked this to Derek on Friday. We agreed and disagreed to some point. But out of those five, out of Pickett, Willis, Ridder, Corral, and Howell, what are your five quarterbacks here?
I'm a really big upside guy, and so whenever I put together quarterback rankings, I really try to see. I've always been in the mindset of you draft a guy for what they can be and not what they currently are. I think I haven't done this. I haven't put pen to paper yet on my quarterbacks. I think off the top of my head right now, I'd probably go Willis, Pickett, Ridder, Corral. And then it's like a free-for-all at number 5 for me.
All right, so let me ask you this. What do you think the Steelers' interest in quarterbacks is? What do you think their list of quarterbacks is? Not their, top 5, most talented, but we want him first, want him second.
Malik Willis, at this point, probably Desmond Ridder at number 2. Kenny Pickett at number 3. Corral number 4 and Howell. I'll go Corral 4A and Howell 4B.
All right, so we mostly agree there. Mine is Willis, Ridder, Howell, and if we're being honest, Pickett and Corral are 4A, 4B. I just haven't seen you live next door to Kenny Pickett and you're not taking him out to dinner.
Yeah,
you're not spending it all the other scouts and the only other head coach that were at his pro day were talking to Kenny Pickett. Tomlin didn't have one conversation with the guy. I don't know. I have not felt good about Pickett to the Steelers at all throughout this whole draft process.